There's a flight on the departures board that nobody talks about. Emirates, a Dubai airline, flying passengers from Newark to Athens. No Dubai, no layover, just New York to Greece on an airline whose home country is thousands of miles away. If that sounds strange, good, because once you understand why that flight exists, you never look at a route map the same way again. Most people think airline routes are decided by demand. City A wants to fly to City B, so an airline builds that route. But that's almost never the full story. The real reasons routes exist, get killed, or make money are way more complicated and way more interesting. We're going to break down the hidden mechanics behind airline routes, legal rights, political leverage, financial tricks, and one aircraft that's physically redrawing the world's route map. And I'm saving the wildest one for last because it flips what a good route even means. Let's start with something that sounds impossible. Emirates is known for connecting passengers through its Dubai hub, but a handful of its flights, called Fifth Freedom flights, carry passengers between two cities without touching Dubai at all. A Fifth Freedom route is a flight between two countries other than the airline's home nation, as long as the trip originates or ends at home. So Emirates flies a Fifth Freedom route from Newark to Athens, the only non-US carrier flying from the New York area to Greece. Passengers never touch Dubai. They buy a ticket from Newark to Athens, board an Emirates 777. Why does this matter? Route rights aren't just about connecting two cities, they're geopolitical leverage. A government grants another country's airline the right to carry its citizens between two foreign cities. That's a diplomatic decision dressed up as a scheduling one. An airline CEO doesn't just draw a line on a map, they work within a web of agreements that decide what's even legally possible, sometimes blocking a route entirely, even when the passengers are clearly there. That brings us to bilateral air service agreements, treaties between governments that dictate how many flights, at what frequencies, and between which cities airlines can operate. A CEO can want a route badly, the data can show real demand, and still be forbidden by treaty. Routes are political before they're commercial. Now, here's where it gets expensive. London Heathrow has long been one of the most constrained in demand hubs where carriers pay huge sums to secure access. The most expensive publicly reported transaction involved a Heathrow slot pair sold for $75 million. A slot pair is just the right to land and take off at a specific time. Not a gate, not a terminal, just a time. In 2016, Air France KLM sold a slot pair to Oman Air for $75 million, the highest publicly reported slot trade to date. And supply at Heathrow covers only about 90% of recorded demand. And that doesn't count airlines that don't even bother applying because their odds are so slim. So think about that. A route into Heathrow can be worth less than the legal right to fly it at a specific time of day. The slot is the asset, the route is secondary. Airlines aren't just competing on fares, they're competing over real estate in the sky. Because airlines must use their slots or lose them, carriers have flown near empty planes just to hold onto that real estate. During COVID, this became a public scandal. ghost flights aircraft with almost nobody on board because surrendering the slot costs more than burning the fuel. Be honest, when you sat on a half empty flight, you probably assumed the airline was just having a bad day. Sometimes they were flying that plane because losing the slot meant losing tens of millions of dollars. Now, here's the one I promise. The thing almost nobody realizes when they think about what makes a route successful. A losing route can be the most valuable route in an airline's network. Airlines deliberately keep money losing routes on the books because they feed high yield passengers, business class, premium economy into profitable long haul connections. On its own, profit and loss, the route is a failure. Inside the network is a feeder artery. Remove it, and the profitable route suffers. Airlines aren't running independent routes, they're running a system, and some parts exist to make other parts work. Here's something invisible to every passenger on a long haul flight. Some routes only work financially because of what's in the cargo hold underneath you. Belly freight can be a major revenue stream. For some routes, the difference between viable and not. All this is happening against a backdrop that's changing. For decades, certain long haul routes couldn't be flown economically, and before that, some were literally illegal. Twin engine jets were once banned from most ocean crossings because regulations required them to stay within an hour of a diversion airport. Routes that seem obvious today were once physically off the table. And right now, the map is being redrawn by a single aircraft. Iberia received the first A321 XLR on the 30th of October 2024 and flew its first passenger flight a week later, deploying it on Madrid Boston transatlantic service. Iberia's strategy: connect Madrid to secondary North American and Latin American cities that don't justify wide body capacity year round. American Airlines' inaugural transatlantic A321 XLR service began between New York, JFK, and Edinburgh, pairing a major US gateway with a European city that draws steady demand but not enough volume for a wide body year round. The A321XLR flies 4,700 nautical miles, enabling transatlantic crossings to most European cities, transcontinental US routes, and long haul connections across the Middle East and Asia. Secondary European cities that could never fill a wide body can now go non-stop to the US East Coast. Routes that weren't economically possible a few years ago are being announced. If this is the kind of thing you find yourself thinking about, hit subscribe. And if you want more on how airlines make money on routes that shouldn't work, that video's right there. Drop a comment with the route you've always wondered about. So here's where we land. Routes aren't drawn by demand alone. They're shaped by diplomatic treaties, slot rights that sell for the price of a mansion block, regulations that once banned the most efficient planes from crossing oceans, aircraft technology that keeps rewriting what's possible, and a network logic where a money losing flight can be the one holding the whole system together. The passenger sees a departure board, the airline sees a chess game. And the next time you board a flight that seems unremarkable, there's a decent chance someone pays $75 million for the right to fly it at that exact time of day, or the real profit is sitting in the cargo hold, or the route only exists because of a treaty most people have never heard of. You're not just on a flight, You're on the outcome of decisions that go way deeper than anyone upstairs is letting on.